How about 2C Sam Lafferty? What's your take on that?
Yeah, dude, I checked it out and it's like, man, Keith, like Kerfoot as well from, bottom of the barrel to the most. I mean, you could look at it on the positive and say, they got a lot of guys on this roster with depth. They're utility guys that can play wing, center, guys that can play first line, fourth line. Bunting's down on the fourth. He's used to playing up top with Austin Matthews. They switch. Holmberg and Steves are up from the minors, but they're playing great. And Sam Lafferty, second line center with Yarncroke and Nylander, man. I mean, you got to try to fill the shoes of Johnny T. Not easy to do, but obviously a versatile player, and they've been happy with him since he came on over at the trade deadline. So honestly, this team in blue, I think, have you not noticed that they've just responded really well to adversity, especially injuries? It seems like they like having their backs against the wall and being the underdog, and they seem to step up and not as much being the big dog with the high expectations. I mean, that can kind of sum up the Toronto Maple Leafs in a long time, don't you think? And it seems like this year, especially when they're down and their backs against the wall and they got injuries out the ass, goaltenders, defense, big boys, doesn't really matter. They tend to step up and do well. So maybe a time to look at that sports bet line and see what they're doing, because I honestly have faith in the Leafs for getting things done when their back's against the wall. I would expect Austin Matthews just to step up, and what a great time for him to maybe take over a game here and show who he is right before playoffs. So time will tell, but Keefe is definitely not scared of mixing up the lines. What do you think of all this?
To your point, that was a story back in November, right? When they lost like every defenseman ever and had to go with like Mac Hollowell as like a 1-2 guy, right? I think you have to, it's just hockey. Every team deals with injuries, and right now it is the Maple Leafs. And obviously in an ideal world, you're not going to have Sam Lafferty as your second line center behind Austin Matthews, but so be it. And that's why they've built up the depth on this team, having JT, having Ryan O'Reilly. But I think it's got to be a defense-first approach. I think if you want to get into a barn burner run and gun type game with New Jersey, I think they run the risk of running them out of the building, quite frankly. So that's what I want to see from this team tonight is defense first, keep it simple, play simple the way they did in, again, November when they were missing a ton of blue liners and still kept afloat, especially without guys like Morgan Riley in the lineup, right?
Yeah, and when you look at the standings and where they're at, I mean, that run, which could have derailed their season, we could very well be playing Boston in the first round and have different thoughts on what's going on. But because of that stretch of time, I mean, they all count, but that's a stretch of time. You could have dropped a lot of points, man. There was some injuries there that were sustained, and they stacked on top of each other, goaltenders included. So, I mean, you look at that right there, and that character and that ability to get the points done when your back's against the wall and be able to step up to adversity is probably a big reason why they are looking at home ice advantage and not playing the number one seed. And, that goes a long way. And that's the kind of shit that, the coaches preach throughout the year, because it's a long season and weeks can just kind of blend into another one. And it's another game. And what city am I in? And man, if you lose your focus like that, you drop 5 or 6 points. That's a huge difference. That is the difference at the end of the year. So they're sitting good right now, and hopefully they can keep doing it, because season's not over. Home ice advantage isn't guaranteed. I imagine Tampa's pretty pissed off right about now, and they're trying to right the ship too. And if they get on a little heater to finish the season, all of a sudden you can have home ice snapped away from you.